A great negotiation starts with with a great sales effort. A strong sales effort creates the potential to negotiate well. If you combine that with a strong negotiation plan, you'll capitalize on that potential. If you have a weak or non-existent plan, you'll squander that potential. So you always want to be able to lower their risk. And again, it's generally not on the product, it's on the we of how we're going to implement it.
Ron Hubsher. He is the CEO of Sales Optimization Group, an international sales and sales negotiation consulting and training organization. He's also the author of the book Closing Time: The 7 Immutable Laws of Sales Negotiations, which you can also download from his website. Ron, how are you feeling today?
I'm doing great, Zivko, and thank you for being so gracious and having me on your podcast, which is just awesome.
Absolutely. Now, today we'll talk a lot about sales and sales negotiations and strategies and all these things. So, first of all, I'd like to start with your journey. How did you start where you started, and how did you end up being where you are today?
Yeah, so a couple things. If you want to know me at heart, I'm an engineer and a sales guy. So those are my sort of two passions. And my selling career just started. I was just like selling stuff, and we always had little businesses growing up. Had the newspaper delivery routes. We had a leaf business where we, clean up the yard and take away your leaves. And then one of my favorite things to do was we had a garage cleaning service, and we would clean out people's garages, which was very unpleasant. But the fun part is we take all the stuff they didn't want. And God bless our parents, I did with my friend David. God bless our parents. They would take us to the flea market early on Saturday morning, and we would sell all the stuff that people didn't want, like pots, pans, used clocks, dishes, clothes. So we go to the flea market, and have a little table, and people would come and negotiate with us all the time. It's like, how much for a pot, how much for a pan? And, we're 14, 15-year-old kids. We have no idea. So you have to start thinking about, what's the price? What do you think that you can get for it? Can you bundle things? Like, I'll tell you what, if they say no to an offer, do you say no to everything? Or you say, I'll tell you what, we'll throw in this and that. So you want a pot, we'll throw in this clock, or whatever thing. Pick one other thing, $5, $10, whatever it might be. We'll throw in this, or we'll bundle a whole bunch of stuff. And you just learn how to interact with people and ask questions and find out what they really want. And then you also, like anything over time, you learn. So when we'd get there early in the morning, the other vendors would see two young kids and they go, they don't know how to price things, right? So they come and they try to get really cheap things from us. And then we were walking around, just checking out what other people are selling. And we'd say, oh, that was the stuff we were selling. And they're selling it for more. So you learn strategies, you learn how to, everything from strategies to tactics. How do you deal with people? How do you ask questions? How do you listen? And most importantly, how do you make people feel good about doing business with you?
When we talk about making you kind of setting up for success, even when you was a kid, when you were learning, negotiating, asking questions and pricing strategies, a lot of stuff has changed since then. And there's a lot of introductions of new things and new methods and new strategies. And one of the most popular one in today's time is Chris Voss with Never Split the Difference. Now, what is your opinion? What is your thoughts on his approach and the tactical empathy and all the stuff that he has in his book and his method of negotiations?
Yeah. So what Chris Voss does in his book, I'm sure there's more to it than he's lit on in his book. But what Chris does is really talk about empathetic listening skills, right? Which is absolutely critical, which is great. That's sort of Dale Carnegie 101 kind of thing, right? Understand what the other person's about, put yourself in their shoes, ask questions. He talks about the late night voice, which is really just an empathetic way of listening. So you should listen way more than you talk. So absolutely 100% on empathetic listening skills, which is great. And that's sort of a sales 101. Do great discovery, right? Come prepared with a list of questions. Help understand the customer from their point of view, right? Step into their shoes and understand them. And even as good as Chris's book is, and it's interesting, people like the stories in the book, it's really empathetic listening skills. And I think an even better book that everyone should read is How to Win Friends and Influence People. It's an old book, hard to get through. But that is, if you live your life by that book, that is empathetic listening skills on steroids and empathetic behavioral skills. The other thing that's interesting about Chris's role is in negotiations is a big word. It's like saying, hey, I'm good at math. Well, what does that really mean? Are you good at addition, subtraction, multiplication, calculus, differential equations? They're all different types of mathematics. And the same is true of negotiation. One type of negotiation is conflict resolution, right? So how do two parties at war come to peace? Or how does a labor union negotiate with a corporation? Or how do you deal in a hostage situation? And the key thing there is both parties have to deal with each other. And if you don't deal with each other, bad stuff's going to happen, right? So in the case of a hostage negotiation, there's going to be a really bad outcome. Or in the case of a war, ongoing hostilities, there's going to be, unless you reach some kind of agreement, each side is going to have unpleasantries fostered upon them. Or in a labor union, the labor union can go out and strike, or the company can the labor union can go out and strike, or the company can shut down the factory. So it's based on mutual pain, right? I can inflict pain on you, and you can inflict pain on me. So let's figure out a better solution. And you have to deal with it. You don't have the option of saying, "Yeah, Chris, I don't want to talk to you. I'm going to talk to a different police department, or I'm going to talk to my mother. My mother's going to negotiate with me, and I'm going to be home by midnight," right? So conflict resolution is a very different paradigm, and the other side is forced to deal with you. And that's very different than a business-to-business sales negotiation, where you want to win the deal, command a price premium, and great long-term customer relationship. So even though the consequences may not be as tragic, maybe no one will end up dead, it's technically more complex because the other side you're working with can just walk away. There's nothing you can do to harm them, right? You can't, you can't cause pain to them. And they can go with one of your competitors who looks pretty similar to you. So business-to-business sales negotiation, again, though, while the results are not as tragic or potentially life-changing, it's more complex because of the options. And another type of negotiation is sort of spot transactional negotiation. How do I beat a street vendor out of $15? There's no sales process up front, and there's no legacy on the back end, right? You may never do business with that person again. I go to Venice Beach, he's selling t-shirts for $15 each. I want to buy 3. Can I get them down to $30 or $35 or whatever it might be, right? So we haggle a little bit. And what we found is people had sort of specialized in, and there are other great books like Getting to Yes, which is, again, traditional Harvard negotiation project, which is traditional conflict resolution negotiation versus business-to-business sales negotiation. So we had found that people had studied conflict resolution and spot transactional negotiation, but no one really studied professional business-to-business sales negotiation. And that's what we really dedicated ourselves to studying.
So what would be a good way of approaching the professional way of doing it? Because we're hearing a lot about the empathetic listening, which is great. How to win friends and influence people. I think a lot of people kind of read it, but not apply it really to like business. It's more like, oh, this is good for like life, as a personal development maybe. And your approach is a very different. So how do we approach B2B sales?
Yeah, so absolutely. So there's 2 things you have to know. The 2 highest levels are a great negotiation starts with a great sales effort. A strong sales effort creates potential to negotiate well. If you combine that with a strong negotiation plan, you'll capitalize on that potential. If you have a weak or non-existent plan, you'll squander that potential. But there's no magic or abracadabra that I'll tell you today that'll make it for a poor sales effort. A strong sales effort is absolutely critical to negotiate well. So again, strong sales effort, strong negotiation plan, success. Strong sales effort, weak negotiation plan, less success. Poor sales effort, there's nothing we can do in negotiation to make it for a poor sales effort. So strong sales effort is absolutely critical. And those great empathetic listening skills, so understanding, hey, zip code, what's your business pain? What's the value of solving that? How will this help you get home at 5 o'clock on Friday? Or what's your personal benefit? What are the risks that you're facing? What are your fears about implementing a system, right? What are the benefits of implementing a system? And having empathetic listening skills will help to elicit those answers, or very good discovery skills. There's also a spin framework, which is Rackman's tool. So empathetic listening skills and questioning skills and discovery skills. So in addition to Chris, there's a whole bunch of other things that you want to know. So a great sales effort starts with great listening skills and questioning skills.
What is when we're talking about a strong negotiation plan? Now, if someone comes from this place of empathetic listening, what is the paradigm shift they need to start having to understand this is what you should have when we're talking about a strong negotiation plan?
Yeah. So empathetic listening will unlock the keys, right? So questioning. So you want to make sure you're the buyer's number 1 choice. And companies don't buy price, they buy risk. And if in your sales process, you can show you the least risky solution, you've earned the right to command a price premium. And we always talk about risk comes in 2 forms, business risk and personal. And you want to lower both those risk profiles for all the buyers, right? So in any complex business to business sales, it might be 3, 4, 5, 6 influencers, right? You want to speak to all of them, not just one. You want to get to everybody. And you may not be able to, but you at least want to try. And you want to talk about how does this person win from a business point of view, and how do they win more importantly from a personal point of view. The business point of view is easy to get. In a Zoom call with 4 people or 3 people, people tell you, we have to increase sales or lower costs or be more productive. Okay, I get that. But it's like, how does that affect you? Well, when inventory backs up, I have to be in the warehouse. And the one thing I love doing is going to see my daughter play basketball. I miss my daughter's basketball game. Oh, wow. So it's really critical that we implement a solution that allows you to go home and watch your daughter's basketball game. Absolutely. That's really understanding someone at a very personal level. And I can give you a great example from my own career. In the early 2000s, I used to sell CRM software. And one of the gentlemen I was talking to talked about, hey, we have to get this forecast report in by Friday at 5. I go, okay, tell me what happens with the forecast report, and what happens if you miss that forecast report. He goes, oh man, if I miss the forecast report, my boss is mad at me. I have to stay late. I hit Silicon Valley traffic. My commute, which is ordinarily like 45 to 50 minutes, becomes an hour and a half. I get home, my significant other is angry at me, and even my dog doesn't like me. So his whole life was tied up in this forecast report. And I said, okay, great. What if we just did something that said, at 5 o'clock every Friday, we'll have a button that will just email out that report. He goes, that would be awesome. Oh man, that'd be so great. So I go, you can be anywhere. You can be working at home. And I go, even better yet, why don't we make it so it's automatic? So you can be anywhere. You don't have to worry. You don't have to click a button to auto generate the report. It'll just automatically generate. We'll just set it up. You can always change the timing and the date, but it'll automatically generate. It goes, oh, that's perfect. It's like a $50 programming, or back in the day, call it whatever dollar, few dollar programming change. But that was the whole key, right? And so we won that deal because that 5 o'clock report was absolutely critical to them. And any other company that we're competing against could have offered that. But it's really understanding that and really aligning what you do to their personal goals.
Well, let's say, Ron, someone is, they have the good intentions and they've heard strategies and tactics, and they're just like kibotching the whole process. They're just like asking questions that are, like what is important to you, like in a wrong time, or they're trying to follow, but they're just taking the strategies and like the pieces of the framework. They're not really implementing the whole thing in their part when they're negotiating. And sometimes it's because there is not a strong sales effort, because they think they can win on methods and strategies in just the negotiations. What are the things that you should have? The first step, the strong sales efforts. What does that look like?
Yeah, absolutely. And by the way, we have a quick sheet that sort of lays it all out, and I can go through. And you're right, where people go wrong, your negotiation should just follow your sales effort, right? Anything you don't know or do well in your sales effort will show up in your negotiation. So, a lot of people are trying to backtrack, right? They're like, oh, I don't know that. Why is this personally important to you? What's the value, right? So when it comes down to negotiation, if you're given a price and you don't know the value, you're done. Like you're just done. You're just negotiating price. You have no. It's like I always talk about. Zivko, have you ever like missed an exit ramp on the highway?
Yes.
And then what are the choices if you miss the exit ramp? What are your choices typically?
So let's go for one more. Or do we just kind of stay here and then try to find a different route to make a U-turn somehow if I can?
Yeah, exactly. So if you miss it, like, and I always think this is a classic example, right? When you're on the highway, you miss a thing, and then some people try and back up, and that's just really terrible. Or you have to go 5 miles up the road, you try and make the U-turn or whatever, and invariably there's something that happens. You're stuck in a light, it doesn't go back the other way, right? The same is true in negotiation. You have to know the value you create. If you don't know the value you create, you can be left to defend price. So that's absolutely critical. And you have to have an agreed upon value justification. And you want to have a ballpark number, and even if you don't have a number, at least ask questions. What's the value? Oh, this is critical. Our company can't move forward if we don't do this. So you have to know the value you create. That's absolutely important. You have to prove you're the least risky solution. In a business-to-business sale, you're going to typically be competing with 2, 3, 4 other competitors. Their products are going to look pretty similar. It's not going to be like, oh, look, we have round wheels and they have square wheels. It's like, oh, it's just not that obvious, right? Oh, their feature number 173 is a little better than your feature number, but their feature 175 is a little better. The products, it's going to be product parity. And the real differentiation is the we. How are you going to come in here and implement this, right? And make sure it's successful. And I get the corporate gold star. I can't afford to have this screw up because that can be a career limiting move. So you always want to be able to lower their risk. And again, it's generally not on the product. It's on the we of how we're going to implement it. So I always think that's the real differentiation. If you're differentiating on if you've got a product differentiation, that's great, sell the heck out of it. The other company will catch up. It's like, oh wow, there's round wheels. Let's start making round wheels. Okay, that's a better idea. And after the first couple of features, everything becomes sort of looking the same. If you want to buy accounting software, you name the vendor, they're all going to work. It's going to be, okay, who's going to implement it here, understand my business, and make sure I can run it and use it.
I understand. It's more on the implementation side now. These are the two starting points that we kind of spent some time on it. Now, you do have a 7-step process. Walk us through your 7-step process. And if you've mentioned some stuff, you can feel free to kind of skip over. But I want to understand, when you do this with your clients, what are the steps that you're showing them that this is the way for success when you're doing B2B sales?
Yeah. So first of all, let me go through you have to put a superlative sales effort. And that includes, knowing the cost of failure, right? So what happens if you don't do this? What's the alternative? What's the business problem solved? What's the personal benefit to each decision maker? What's the cost of no action? Because oftentimes you'll lose your biggest competitor is inaction. So what problems will happen if you don't move forward? So I always think when you know the ROI, so there's two things. You want to know the positive ROI of action, and you want to know the negative ROI of inaction. So Vivco, if we don't do this, what's going to happen? Oh, inventory is going to pile up, or we're going to miss our forecast. Company will, use up all its cash flow, whatever it might be. So you want to know both those things. You want to make sure decision makers are strong champions. So a lot of people put a like an okay sales effort in, but they don't have a champion. It's like, okay, you represent our product well, you represent our company well. So did your 3 other competitors. It's like, okay, for that one person, you need the forecast at 5 o'clock. We've solved your problem, and we've uniquely solved it. Anybody could have done that, but we did it, right? We dug in. We used those empathetic listening skills to really understand what you talked about. You want to make sure your prospect understands your competitive advantages. So, hey, what do you like about us? What sets us apart from the competition? And you want your champion to be able to rattle them off, because sometimes you won't be even there to sell to the other folks. You want to know the buyer's compelling reason to move forward with the sale. You want to know the ideal go live date. And this is really important to me. You want to feel comfortable with premium pricing. So yeah, I know we're 20% higher or 30% higher, but we're worth it. So those are sort of some of the elements that I always think are like gut checks.
This is interesting because I'll play devil's advocate on this one. What if you jump in a conversation and you're like, I've done my part, and you're like, hey, what is the cost of not doing any of these actions? And you just hit a brick wall, and you see the person is not, maybe they've done this in the past, maybe they went through some similar exercises, and you're not getting good responses. They start to be very shut down, or they're giving like snarky answers, and you're trying to move through it, and you try to understand like what are the business what are we solving for the business, or ideal go live date, and they're just dodging the answers or giving you like I said, like maybe like snarky comments. Did we cause that, or is there something that we didn't see from the beginning?
So I always think if someone's not, there could be a number of issues, but I always think if someone's not willing to go through discovery and tell you those things, your chance of winning that deal is small. Right? There's 3 other competitors that they're talking about. It maybe do nothing. You may not have the right decision maker. They're not interested. You obviously haven't made a connection. I always think you always want to engage people, right? And sort of talk about, hey, Zipco, I'm here to help you. I'm here to be your advocate. If it's not a fit, not a problem, no harm, no foul. One of the reasons, what are your fears about doing this? And what happens if it turns out wrong? Try and engage them. How can I help you? You tell me. Right. I always try and engage them. If they're not engageable, that's fine, but I'm not going to put it on my forecast. Right. And, I'm here to help you. That's my job. I'm here to make you look like a rock star. I'm here to help your career. And, all of our customers, they stay with us a long time. They bring me into new opportunities. So you want to create that connection. And to me, the biggest tell if someone's not engaging, you haven't created that connection. And maybe it's because you can't. Maybe they don't care. Maybe they have. I have a report. I've already selected the winner. There's always, it's in a business to business sale. There's going to be, ultimately they're going to come down to like, oh, here's the report. They're going to do a side by side comparison of 3 vendors, right? And guess what? We chose this one who my brother-in-law works at, or whoever it was. They're the designated winner. So in any sales situation, you look at your forecast, right? And any sales situation, that deal is in 2 other people's forecast. Only one person's going to win it if they even move ahead, right? So you want to understand where you're at and understand that if they're just going through there, they may just be collecting data so you can be column C. And there's a designated winner. And if you don't know you're the designated winner, you're probably the designated loser. And there's a great Zivko, do you play poker at all? I don't know if you play poker.
Not much, but I know the rules.
Okay. Well, the biggest rule is if you don't know who the fish is at the table, it's you, right? So the same is true for sales. If you don't know who the designated loser is at the table, it's probably you. And that's a great tell to me that, this probably shouldn't be on my forecast, and I may either want to think about doing something radically different or, investing less. And that's my choice as a salesperson, right? I don't have to be on a sales call with you if it doesn't look like it's going to move forward. But I always think you should ask a couple of questions, like Zivko, tell me, what do you like about us? What concerns do you have? What concerns do you have about this whole thing? And if they don't answer, I'm like, okay, well, my job is to help you. Here's how we've helped other people. Their concerns were this. Does that resonate with you? Like they had an implementation, it didn't work out. Is that a concern of yours? Yeah, okay, what are you doing to minimize it? I don't know. Okay, well, I'd love to help you. Would you like me to show you? Right? So I always try and think about ways I can engage them. I'm here to help you. I'm here to make you a rock star. I'm here to make you successful.
It's I think in this process, I feel like there is some business owners that don't want to let go, and they would still classify as follow-ups or opportunities, but they really don't want to ask the questions, and they just kind of pad the numbers, or the sales guy just pads the numbers, like, yeah, I have like these many opportunities, but realistically, they haven't done the discovery properly, and they don't really have that many opportunities.
Yeah, absolutely. And every great sale starts with great discovery. And we have some statistics, just as an example, for SaaS companies, who go right to demo, right? I always put the rule of no demo without discovery. So if you do demo without discovery, your close rates are really low, often in the single digits. Now, some people may find that fine. That's okay. But if you do discovery first, then it can tie it to your business needs. Hey, you mentioned that if you don't get a proposal out within 24 hours or 12 hours or 5 minutes after the phone call, your close rates drop from this to that. Your average deal size is 100,000 or 50,000 or whatever it might be. So by not getting your proposal out right afterwards or whatever it might be, it's costing you this number of dollars. Like, oh, wow, that's true. Oh, wow, I didn't really think about it that way. So you always want to sort of understand the value you create and how you're helping them. Oh, by the way, if this thing fails, that's going to be egg on your face. So we always sometimes like being active, which is good, because people feel good when they're active, which is great. But you may be active on ineffective deals, which may kill your team from prospecting or doing things you may not like. Because it's better to speak to a person than actually, send emails, do follow-ups. But you want to have I always call it the inverse funnel, where you want to have the funnel deliver more value at the end than the beginning. And you can do that with a great negotiation, a great sales effort. As we always think about a funnel, start with a lot of stuff on the top and a little bit comes out of the bottom.
I think it's that feeling of comfort to know that I have a lot of opportunities, so people kind of still pad those numbers as opposed, like you're saying, the invert funnel. Well, you start with low, but it expands as you do it, and then with time, it builds a proper sales funnel. Now, one of the methods that is newer, I would say, in the last I don't know, since Alex Hormozi kind of popped in the scene, is offer it feels stupid to say no to. I read all his books. I've talked with a lot of clients, and when it comes to B2B, generally speaking, a lot of people are like, these guarantees, there's no way that we can do those. These offers, the way they're packaged, there's very difficult to execute in the way that it's presented in his methods and in this way. We've also seen, and this is just me speaking about my experience, there is an offer, you do the call, there is a discovery, the offer is completely different what the offer happens on the discovery. Like the offer just sounds very good to bring you into some sort of a funnel. And once you start talking with the company or the sales rep, you do the discovery like, wow, what do you offer and what really you're offering starts to be like a little bit disjointed. What are your thoughts when it comes to this offer too stupid to say no to when it comes to B2B sales?
Yeah, so a couple of things. In business to business sales, there's going to be multiple decision makers, and there's got to be budget allocated. So no one's going to go, oh yeah, let me buy it. Let me buy it today. Oh, that's great. Oh, the price is changing tomorrow. Uh-oh, yeah, let me hop in. They're going to be evaluating you and a couple of competitors. And there's no offer that's too good to be true that's going to make someone buy and risk their career, right? They're going to have to go, oh, I'm run by my boss, right? Usually when someone's evaluating, whether it's software or whatever it might be, they're a little lower down. And you're going to have, so the person you're on the demo, and you want to get more decision makers involved, may not be the person who ultimately makes the decision. So no matter what you offer, it's going to go through a chain of command. And also it's going to go through, okay, someone's going to say, okay, do we evaluate 2 or 3 other people? Oh, and by the way, we have a procurement team that you may have to get involved with. So there's no offer that's like, I always just think about, slap chop, which is fine. That's great. For a $19 product, that's awesome, man. And I can get 2, right? I get free shipping. Wow, let me get 3. That's awesome, man. I can cut my onions up. Or Chef Tony. Oh, that's awesome, man. I get the extra aerated blade. That's awesome, man. Great. I'll sure, put me down for $81 on 3 easy payments, right? Not a problem. But that's not going to work for significant software sales. Like they're going to do a considered purchase, considered evaluation, and through their evaluation project, they're going to go, okay, how much have we allocated? Can we do better? Can we do worse? I'm going to negotiate you down with your competitors. Oh, competitor A is offering 30% off. Oh, competitor B is offering 50% off. So no matter how good your offer is, perhaps there's a competitor who will offer something better. But it's just, I always think that could work in a B2C sale where you can pressure somebody. Mm-hmm. And it's kind of like an impulse buy. Like, oh, don't get hang up the phone yet. Oh, if you walk out of my store, if you get off my phone, I'll never come back to you. If you're on a 1-call deal close thing, maybe try an incredible offer, who knows, but not a considered B2B purchase. That just doesn't work.
Right.
Did that make sense? Go, I don't know if I explained that clearly.
It does make sense because you're saying that there is no offer because all your, let's say, Netflix, and someone says, hey, we're a production studio, we have this fantastic technology, it will just like stream like no tomorrow. Like, great, I'm just gonna go to Amazon, I'm gonna go to Google, I'll ask them, can you do this? And then your offer is not irresistible because I have a way to negotiate with multiple people. So it might work when you are doing something very small and someone might just negotiate down on a price or something. But when you talk about multiple decision makers, no one's going to risk their job to say, I talked to Ron and Ron is fantastic. So let's just don't do price comparison, skip directly procurement and just go start the process. These are timely decisions.
And even if you gave it away for free, there's change management. So let's say you're giving your software, I'm giving you Irresistible software, Zipco. I'm giving you my software for free. It's like, oh, how are we going to implement it? How are we going to train people, right? What's the cost that when I have people out in the field, actually taking training? What happens if it doesn't work? So the cost of your actual product in a business to business sale is only a portion of the overall change management feature. So it's like, it's not like Slapshop. I can take it out of the box and know how to use this, right? Oh, I got 20 Slapshop server. Oh, thanks, great. We're having better lunches or whatever. It's like, oh shoot, we gotta teach people how to use this. We got to change processes. We have to show them the value of this. People are going to have questions. They're going to need support. So I always think an irresistible offer is a sign of a kind of a transactional, like I was talking about before. That's a transactional sale. An individual transaction.
Right. Now, because we understand like the wrong way of doing it, what are some of the principles that you always use when you're negotiating on a corporate level with multiple decision makers? What is the right way of approaching that sale?
Yeah, you always want to make sure you're the number one choice, right? Because they're going to be evaluating people. So you always want to make sure you're the number one choice. And people don't buy price, they buy risk. And if in your sales process you can show you the least risky solution, then you've earned the right to command a price premium. And risk comes in two forms: business risk and personal risk. So in any sale that I go into, I want to know, I put down a list of all the decision makers, some of them you'll contact. You want to try and contact all of them, but what's their business win, and what's their personal win from us winning the deal? Oh, we have to increase production 10%, or we have to do this. Oh, I want to get home and coach my daughter's softball game. And I want to know that for each person. And I want to know that each decision maker is a champion. So that's absolutely critical. So I know they call it column A or column 1, right? I'm the designated winner, not column B or C. And an easy tell is when someone just like, oh yeah, how much is it? What's the cost? Does it do this? Does it do that? They ask a million questions and they're not engaging. Yeah, you're column B, C, D, or E. So you may have it on your forecast. I wouldn't put it on my forecast, but no, like you have to, unless you change that dynamic, I would say, hey, zip code, what this is great. What concerns you about this? What happens if this fails? How can I be a great asset to you? I want to make sure this is successful for you. How can I help you do that? Right. So you want to change the nature of that conversation. The second is you have to know the value you create. If you don't know the value you create, you're going to be left to defend price. And again, I see a lot of people sending out proposals without knowing the value you create. Once you give a price without knowing the value, you have missed that exit. And you're no good. You do not want to back up on the high. I've never done it. I thought about it and I was like, what are you, crazy? What are you crazy? You get killed, man. Just, what? Right. And I always end up like, oh, shoot, man, 4 miles up the road, get off the exit, hopefully flip around, and you find there's no way back on, or now you're in 4 gas stations and an Arby's and you can't get around and you're got to go 3 miles up the road, and it's just bad. It's just bad. And no one's going to go back and tell you what it is. It's like, okay, what's your price? Can you do lower? Can you do lower? Can you do lower? And then you're like, oh, wait, what's the value? Can you do lower? What's the value? What's the value of this product? Well, you absolutely have to know that. So that's absolutely critical.
Now, if someone is listening to these things, they're like, look, I want to improve. I want to improve some of my steps, some of my processes, and maybe they're very good at executing and following steps. But when it comes to influencing people, the soft skills, are there any methods and processes they can improve to influence people? I mean, let's say we're past the negotiation phase, and let's say now we're working together. We want to make sure we have good retention. Is there anything that people can apply to learn, or are there just kind of fundamental keys? If you have it, good. If you don't, probably not the right person. Give it to someone else.
So I think there's a couple things. I think anybody can be a good salesperson if you have good listening skills and you're analytic, right? So if you just listen to people, they'll tell you exactly what they want. So just ask questions. And I always think, again, whenever I'm talking, and this podcast, we're talking in a normal sales call, I might talk 10% or 15%. I'm always asking, what do you think? How does that fit to your ideal world? Anytime you make a statement, always ask a question on it. Hey, we have a white glove service and 100% success rate. How does that fit with your ideal world? Or how does that fit with what you're thinking? Oh, that's really perfect because I'm worried about this thing not working. And there's really something that's very important I learned early on in my sales career. As a salesperson or a third party, when you say it, it's BS. When they say it, it's the truth. So, people always talk about, here's our competitive advantages. We do this, we do that, right? We do this, we do that. And then people it's Charlie Brown's mom, wah, 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 wah. So I like saying, hey, how important is 100% uptime, or 100%? Absolutely critical. Why is that important to you? Tell me more. How do you feel about our ability to offer that? Oh, that is absolutely critical. I need that. Great. Should that be on the critical success factors? How do you feel about white glove service and implementation? Oh man, that's just what we need. We last thing we did, they left us high and dry, or they did a third party and we had a terrible outcome. And the last guy, left the company in shame or whatever, or they got demoted, whatever it might be. So always ask questions. And my overriding thing is 2 things. Whenever I'm talking, shut up and ask a question. Right. So if I'm talking for 10 seconds, shut up, ask what. How does that fit with your ideal world? Tell me more. What else? Why is that? When you say this, what does that mean to you? With those 4 questions, and this is one of the exercises we do in our discovery skills training. With those 4 questions, you can have someone talking for a half hour. All right. You can do it with a stranger anywhere. It's like, what else? Tell me more. Why is that? And when you say this, when you say, oh, it's painful, can you tell me more about that? And you can learn so much about things. It's actually interesting. So we also do discovery skills, so empathetic listening skills. And one of the skills we'll do in class is just using those 4 questions. We'll start with, what do you like about Princeton, New Jersey, or wherever the location is? And we'll just say, using these 4 things, we're going to give you 10 minutes, speak to that person and find out where that conversation leads. Okay. So you might find out, I hate Princeton, New Jersey, right? And then it leads you down to, oh, did you know Princeton, New Jersey was the home of a serial killer? By the way, this is an actual thing, was the home of a serial killer? No, I did not know that. And you often lead to, baking is my passion, right? And it starts with, what do you like about Princeton? Well, tell me what you like about Princeton, right? New Jersey. And this is actually a training we did recently. And it's amazing. I learned someone I've been working with for 4 years, right? So we're at a company. I've been working with someone I've been working with for 4 years. Their passion is baking. They just love to bake. Another person is, I just love pottery. And the really funny one was, well, Princeton's home of a serial killer. I'm like, oh, I never had that one before. You can learn so much from just asking questions. And that's really the important, and just listening like they're the most important person in the world. Another sort of analogy I always think for empathetic listening skills, if you look at a family picture and it has a picture of a mother, a daughter, a son, and a father, and a dog, who's the favorite family member?
The dog, maybe?
Yeah, the dog. Why is that?
I mean, I had a dog, and I liked the dog the most because it was always happy, funny when it would see me, it would like wave the tail. So I just resonated with me, I guess.
And it would listen to you like you're the most important person in the world, right?
It would.
Would you tell your dog everything? You had a bad day at work, or you had a bad day, you tell your dog everything.
Yeah.
How much of that did your dog actually understand?
Nothing. Like he was just like looking at me. When is the next food? When is the next walk?
Yeah, but he looks at you like you're the most important person in the world. And he doesn't even understand what you're saying. Like, dogs understand maybe 1,000, they say between 400 and 1,000 words. Everyone loves their dog because they're happy to see you and they listen to you, right? Or, they're not even listening, they hear, right? And that's important, being listened to. So I always say, be the dog. And you can actually understand people. You can actually understand what they're saying as opposed to a dog. And I always say, when does a dog get in trouble, Zivko?
When it doesn't listen.
Okay, when it doesn't listen, or it barks,
Yeah.
right, which is speaking, or jumps on people.
Yes.
So if you can listen and refrain from jumping on people, you can create that bond that's even greater than a dog. So that's one of the things I always think about, even like the next level of listening skills. Really just listen, kick back, listen, smile like to them, and just listen to them like they're the most important person in the world.
It's an interesting analogy when you kind of boil it down to the simplest form, and when you start to kind of connect with that, because like I said, I had a dog, and I can like the stuff that you're explaining. Yeah, like I liked it because it just kept listening, and if it was barking, then you're like, hey, don't bark, and because we live in a condo building and stuff like that. So it's very true when you boil it down to the simplest form without taking out all the like fancy strategies and whatnot. Something I wanted to ask, because the process I think is very clear, but is there other, let's say, books? Because we mentioned Chris Voss, we mentioned Dale Carnegie. Are there any other books that are good for someone to read, to get better at this, if they truly want to build this, either a career or they want to improve their sales team?
Yeah, so I think there's a couple of things. One, the fundamentals of sales. Everyone likes to say there's something new. If someone tells you it's new, and maybe I'm the buzzkill, it's all the same stuff that's been repeated really for 100 years. If you listen to Dale Carnegie, he's amazing. The book is really hard to read because it's just written in an old school style, but they have summaries you can get. And if you apply those are awesome. My favorite books that I've ever read, Spin Selling, which is okay on question-based selling skills. Solution Selling by Mike Bosworth, which is an older book. Miller Hyman, which is an older style book. And the way I always look at it, there's 3 legs to a stool in sales. One, you have to ask good questions, right? So you need good question-based selling skills. 2, you need an opportunity management plan. Like, how do I go about this opportunity? How do I quantify value? How do I go winning it? And then you need a negotiation plan. And the books I would use, one, for discovery skills, I probably use Spin. There's a whole bunch. For For value selling, I would probably use solution selling or Miller Hyman strategic selling, which is an old time classic. And then for negotiation, I would use our book Closing Time. And if you do those 3 books, you'll be covered. Everything else, it's kind of, there are a million books out there. And I don't want to be the buzzkill. There is nothing new in sales. Like the stuff I used 40 years ago still works. Just, some basic things. If you say it's BS, if they say it, ask questions, listen. The fundamentals of how you win a deal haven't changed. What's changed is the rate of change. So deals move much quicker. People come and go out of positions much quickly. So it makes you have to be more precise and more perfect. So where people might change over once every 3 years, 20 years ago, or once every, whatever it might be, now people are changing over once every 6 months. So if you got 4 decision makers and you got a 9-month sales cycle, you have a lot of challenges, right? So you really have to be tight to move those things. So things change more, business is bumpier. So your ability to execute more perfectly is absolutely critical. So that's absolutely critical. The great advantage is through Zoom, you have the ability to be an even better salesperson. So even during my selling career 20 years ago, it was hard to get someone to go out for dinner. You could every now and then, or you can get them to go to lunch, or you can get them to go to Starbucks. Now you can pop on a Zoom call. Hey, let me pop on it, and you can get one-on-one time. It used to be you could never get one-on-one time, or it'd be really hard. Hey, let's go to Starbucks. Oh, I'm too busy, man. Right? So you have 4 decision makers. Now I can get one-on-one time with all those decision makers, and I can hear, what's your personal agenda? Hey, tell me what's going on. Really understand about it. And you know more about people. You can go to LinkedIn and go, oh, this person's passionate about coaching baseball, or they're in the military, or they were this, or they're alumni of the school. So you have if you take the time to do it, you have an ability to reach people at a much deeper level. And through Zoom, can we just pop on a 15-minute phone call? Great, I want to address any concerns that you might have. So you can build those great connections. Did that make sense, by the way?
It's very true, because I think people are complaining that it's too difficult now, but it's because it's saturated. Some areas are saturated, but they're saturated by, I would say, weak approaches and going for some sort of a tactic. And there's not really a deep trying to connect and understand someone, have the call with them, and really listen to apply what you're doing, and not just like churning and burning, like high volume. And I see the high volume game played quite often, even with like cold emails and thousands and thousands per month, and becomes more transactional. Then someone takes transactional stuff, applies it to B2B, and then it doesn't really work. I'm doing this for 5 years, and if someone says I have a 3-month sales cycle in my world, I would say that's short. Like you're moving fairly quickly, because multiple decision makers to agree on something. We're not talking about a $50 fidget spinner. 3 months, like great, you move fairly quickly. You have a very good kind of process after the discovery call, and what happens next, and what have to move that couple of people to agree on a price, and to agree that this is, and then like you said, the change. I think a lot of people don't understand you need to explain and show this will not be a difficult process. Once we start doing this, it can be implemented in an easy way, and that also is a internal discovery that is not a week. Sometimes it's 3 weeks conversations between them. So what you're saying, it definitely makes a lot of sense to me now. What I wanted to ask you is, if someone listens to this and they're like, this is fantastic, man, I really like this approach, how do people get a hold of you to work with you, Ron?
Yeah, I'm super easy to get a hold of. You can reach me, my phone number, you can text me 650-520-9849. I actually answer phone calls, so I'm actually one of the people who actually picks up the phone. You can text me, email me, Hubsher, so RHUBSHER at salesog as an original gangster.com. So Ron Hubsher, or Hubsher at salesog. So I'm the original gangster. Makes me feel really good. You can reach me on LinkedIn. And you can download our book from our website, www.salesog, again, salesoriginalgangster.com. And we love helping people. So we work with companies from everyone like Google, Oracle, ADP, Xerox, Walgreens, some of the biggest companies in the world to some of the smallest companies in the world. And we just get great results. Very simple stuff that we have. The other thing I would add is, the other thing that's really changed is you got to simplify stuff. So people used to think in sales, the way you get better or you seem smarter, since the fundamentals are the same, right? They think you got to complexify it. So people are just starting getting more complexifying, and it's sort of like, it's just strip it down. What are the 7 steps I need for negotiation? Great. What's the 7 steps I need for value selling? what's the 1 page of discovery questions or a page and a half of discovery questions that I need to know? And I always think there's a difference between discovery questions and discovery answers. Because if you ask a good question, you'll get answers to a whole bunch of other questions. So you don't want to rapid fire through it, but you definitely, like we always create like a 1 pager or 1.5 pager of, here's our key discovery question, right? So during a conversation, you say, oh, I don't know this. I haven't asked about business value. Oh, can you, what happens if it doesn't work out? That's a great question, man. I didn't think about that. Can you afford to do nothing? Yeah, we're okay. Okay, great. That's great. Right. What would make this a perfect partnership? What are you looking for in an ideal partner? All these kinds of things will open up the box. And again, when you're talking about your competitive advantages, you don't want to tell them, you want to ask, how important is this? Or how important is that? You mentioned you're looking for this in an ideal partner. Boom, how important is that?
Yes. And I think it's having that agenda. A lot of people go on the fly, but once I created an agenda, I can speak for myself. Once I created an agenda and I follow it, you get better at the repetitions, and then you start tweaking small things. And when you do an A/B test, when you say, I'm going to try different positioning, you're very clear on what worked, because you can just go back to your recorded sales calls and you can go compare close rates. It's easy if you have the structure, because you know what you're comparing. Because I think also testing and comparing, sometimes people just do it off the cuff. I'm really good at sales, and just something happens and we'll see what happens after.
Yeah. There's a real process underneath it, and that's the engineering part. We just engineer what are the best practices to close a deal.
Of course. Ron, thank you so much for the time. This was fantastic. I learned a lot of new stuff, so I appreciate you sharing all these things, keeping it simple, keeping it the same way that it has been for many years, not packaging it and complicating it, very straightforward to the point and easy to digest. So I appreciate you taking the time and sharing all these information with us, and I wish you all the success.
Zivko, thank you for having me on. I appreciate it.